of full forgiveness, providing you return to him at once, and renew your covenant, proving your sincerity by casting from you the book you hold under your arm." "Your snares are not laid subtle enough to catch me," replied Mistress Nutter. "I will never part with this holy volume, which is my present safeguard, and on which I build my hopes of salvation hopes which your very proposals have revived in my breast, for I am well assured your master would not make them if he felt confident of his power over me. No, I defy him and I command you in Heaven's name to get hence, and to tempt me no longer." As the words were uttered, with a howl of rage and mortification like the roar of a wild beast, the dark horseman and his steed vanished. Alarmed by the sound, Crouch stopped, and questioned the lady as to its cause, but receiving no satisfactory explanation from her, he bade her ride quickly on, affirming it must be the boggart of the clough. Soon after this they again came upon Downham Beck, and were about to cross it, when their purpose was arrested by a joyous barking, and the next moment Grip came up. The dog, it appeared, had been shut up in the stable, his company not being desired on the expedition, but contriving in some way or other to get out, he had scented his master's course, and in the end overtaken him. Crouch did not know whether to be angry or pleased, and at first gave utterance to an oath, and raised his whip to chastise him, but almost instantly the latter feeling predominated, and he welcomed the faithful animal with a few kind words. "I suppose they thought I couldna do without thee, Grip," he said, "and mayhap thou wert right." They are now across the beck, and speeding over the wide brown waste. The huntsman warily shapes his course so as to avoid any limestone quarries or turf pits. He points out a jack o' lantern dancing merrily on the surface of a dangerous morass, and tells a dismal tale of a traveller lured into it by the delusive light, and swallowed up. Mistress Nutter pays little heed to him, but ever and anon looks back, as if in dread of some one behind her, but no one is visible, and she only sees the great black cloud still hovering over Pendle Hill. On, on they go, their horses' hoofs now splashing through the wet sod, now beating on the firm but elastic turf. A merry ride it would be if their errand were different, and their hearts free from care. The air is fresh and reviving, and the rapid motion exhilarating. The stars shine out, and the crescent moon is still glittering in the heavens, but the black cloud hangs motionless on Pendle Hill. Now and then some bird of night flies past them, and they hear the whooping of the owl, and see him skimming like a ghost over the waste. Then more fen fires arise, showing that other treacherous quagmires are at hand, but Crouch skirts them safely. Now the bullfrog croaks in the marsh, and a deep booming tells of a bittern passing by. They see the mighty bird above them, with his wide heavy wings and long neck. Grip howls at him, but is instantly checked by his master, and they gallop on. They are now by the side of Pendle Water, and within sight of Rough Lee. What tumultuous thoughts agitate the lady's breast! The ground she tramples on was once her own. The woods by the river side were planted by her. The mansion before her once owned her as mistress, and now she dares not approach it. Nor does she desire to do so, for the sight of it brings back terrible recollections, and fills her again with despair. They are now close upon it, and it appears dark, silent, and deserted. How different from what it was of yore in her husband's days, the husband she had foully slain! Speed on, old huntsman, lash your panting horse, or the remorseful lady will far outstrip you, for she rides as if the avenging Furies were at her heels. She is rattling over the bridge, and Crouch toiling after her, and with Grip toiling after him, shouts to her to moderate her pace. She looks back, and beholds the grim old house frowning full upon her, and hurries on. Huntsman and dog are left behind for a while, but the steep ascent soon compels her to slacken speed, and they come up, Crouch swearing lustily, and Grip, with his tongue out of his mouth, limping as if footsore. The road now leads through a thicket. The horses stumble frequently, for the stones are loose, and the footing consequently uncertain. Crouch has a fall, and ere he can remount, the lady is gone. It is useless to hurry after her, and he is proceeding slowly, when Grip, who is a little in advance, growls fiercely, and looks back at his master, as if to intimate that danger is at hand. The huntsman presses on, but he is too late, if indeed he could at any time have rendered effectual assistance. A clearing in the thicket shows him the lady dismounted, and surrounded by several wild looking men armed with calivers. Part of the band bear her shrieking off, and the rest fire at him, but without effect, and then chase him as far as the steepest part of the hill, down which he dashes, followed by Grip. Arriving at the bottom, he pauses to listen if he is pursued, and hearing nothing further to alarm him, debates with himself what is best to be done, and not liking to alarm the village, for that would be to betray Mistress Nutter, he gets off his horse, ties him to a tree, and with Grip close at his heels, commences the ascent of the hill by a different road from that he had previously taken. Meanwhile, Mistress Nutter's captors drag her forcibly towards the tower. Their arms and appearance left her no doubt they were depredators, and she sought to convince them she had neither money nor valuables in her possession. They laughed at her assertions, but made no other reply. Her sole consolation was, that they did not seek to deprive her of her Bible. On reaching the tower, a signal was given by one of the foremost of the band, and the steps being lowered from the high doorway, she was compelled to ascend them, and being pushed along a short passage, obscured by a piece of thick tapestry, but which was drawn aside as she advanced, she found herself in a circular chamber, in the midst of which was a massive table covered with flasks and drinking cups, and stained with wine. From the roof, which was crossed by great black beams of oak, was suspended a lamp with 3 burners, whose light showed that the walls were garnished with petronels, rapiers, poniards, and other murderous weapons. Besides these, there were hung from pegs long riding cloaks, sombreros, vizards, and other robber accoutrements, including a variety of disguises, from the clown's frieze jerkin to the gentleman's velvet doublet, ready to be assumed on an emergency. Here and there was an open valise, or a pair of saddle bags with their contents strewn about the floor, and on a bench were a dice box and shuffle board, showing, with the flasks and goblets on the table, how the occupants of the tower passed their time. A steep ladder-like flight of steps led to the upper chamber, and down these, at the very moment of Mistress Nutter's entrance, descended a stalwart personage, who eyed her fiercely as he leapt upon the floor. There was something in the man's truculent physiognomy and strange and oblique vision that reminded her of Mother Demdike. "Welcome to Malkin Tower, madam," said the robber, with a grin, and doffing his cap with affected courtesy. "We have met before, but it is many years ago, and I dare say you will have forgotten me. You will guess who I am when I tell you my mother occupied this tower before me." Finding Mistress Nutter made no remark, he went on. "I am Christopher Demdike, madam. Captain Demdike, I should say. The brave fellows who have brought you hither are part of my band. Until lately, Northumberland and the borders of Scotland used to be our scene of action. But chancing to hear of my worthy old mother's death, I thought we could not do better than take possession of her stronghold, which devolved upon me by right of inheritance. Since our arrival here, we have kept ourselves very quiet, and the country folk, taking us for spirits or demons, never approach our hiding place, while, as our depredations are confined to distant parts, our retreat has never been suspected." "This concerns me very little," observed Mistress Nutter, coldly. "Pardon me, madam, it concerns you very much, as you will learn anon. But be seated, I pray you," he said, with mock civility. "I am keeping you standing all this while." But as the lady declined the attention, he went on. "I was fortunate enough, on first coming back to this part of the country, to pick up an acquaintance with your relative, Nicholas Assheton, who invited me to stay with him at Downham, and was so well pleased with my society that he could not endure to part with me." "Indeed!" exclaimed Mistress Nutter. "Are you the person he calls Lawrence Fogg?" "The same," replied Demdike.
And no doubt you would heir a goodly.